Everyone, welcome back to another episode of But Coffee First. Let me start by saying sorry that I've been in my eighth. I really appreciate those who have subscribed to the channel. All things have been well and good, just celebrating life, positive things, family members having babies, graduations happened, so I've been a little distracted. But thank you for those who are returning. Um, so happy to have you here. Please comment below and share your thoughts and comments with us. For those who are new, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. So I wanted today to, my comeback conversation was going to be over the recent posts and over some of the recent discussions around the 50-50 split discussion between a wife and a husband or marriages. Let me not just put it on those two genders, but in a marriage, splitting the bills 50-50 and who should be responsible for the bills, who should be responsible for the household. And this conversation came up and has been floating around because Gabrielle Union, a very famous actress who's married to a very famous basketball player who will have millions between them two, has a family, has a child, has decided that in their household, they are going to split the bills 50-50. And a lot of people were like, oh, wow, that's good. Glad to hear it's a different senses of what we're, in this day and age where we're hearing this, men take care of everything conversation and I want a man to do all this for me. And I applauded it as well because I know for myself, middle class family, married for over a decade, friends who have been married for way longer than me, with their spouses for way longer than me, same thing, so this is my world. Like I understand that 50-50 or 70-30 or 60-40, contributing in some form of fashion in the household. Where you then have this other part of the responses on social media and that, this is ridiculous. Like, he's rich, he made all this money. Why are you splitting? And this, that, and the third. And it came from a lot of non-married women. And one of the ones that grabbed my attention and was kind of floating around more consistently was the Ebony K. Williams. This woman has been in the media recently with her comments about I won't date a bus driver. She's a lawyer. She's been on reality TV. From my understanding, never married, ended her engagement recently because the man wanted to spend COVID with his children. And she was also someone who had been recently looking for her father in her late years. So it's you got someone who thinks bus drivers are mediocre, middle class families are mediocre. There's certain standards as women we should have when it comes to our mates. And I don't agree with them. And it's her opinion, and as she should have her own opinion. However, I just think it's weird and I think it's unfair for someone who's not married, who hasn't been married, and you and your co-host to have made comments about a marriage and their decision to talk about their finances, decide and plan their finances with their children in mind. This man has kids outside of her, kids with her. He's retired. So I just was baffled at the conversation. I didn't understand why two women who are not married, who have just decided to end the marriage because the man in their life wanted to be during a very tumultuous time in our lives, lockdown with his children, and didn't put you first, could comment about the decisions between a married couple who have been married for a while now and seem to be doing perfectly fine according to what they decide to share with us. So for Gabrielle Union to come out publicly, share this information where you don't have a lot of celebrities talking about it, they let this persona go on that men take care of everything, these millionaires, and she decided to say that's not her reality. And she's thoughtful about what she spends, she's thoughtful about what job she's taking. And I think that that's something that we should applaud, not something that we should say is a negative and how dare you give your money to that man and he made all this money and I want to be giving my money to a man. And one of the comments she had made in her show with her co-host was, I grew up in a single household and my mom would say, we don't take care of men here. Well, red flag number one, you grew up in a single household. So did I. But how could you use that as a foundational point to determine what a man should and shouldn't do and how he should contribute? There's some backwardness there. There's clearly an absence of your parent who you looked for later on in life and that you wanted a relationship with, you wanted some connection, then you're getting advice that you don't take care of a man, we don't support a man in this kind of way, you know, our money doesn't go to a man. Well, maybe if you brighten your horizon and maybe talk to some other married people and get a full perspective of the work it takes to be in a marriage and to raise kids and to maintain a household, the divorce rate has actually been brought down a lot, but for several years, we're still ranking the third in the world for the most divorces. And this number, one of the number two reasons is finances, the inability for a couple to make financial decisions and be on the same page and to agree to it and both be satisfied with that decision. So when you have somebody who's married, where the decision of the finances work, they're satisfied with that decision and they're going strong, why would you want to disrupt that? Why would you put this narrative out there that splitting bills with your spouse is absolutely ridiculous when a huge portion of America, that middle class that you try to downplay, does that? I know in my household, we split our bills. We have kids. They have college plans. You know, we're building a future. We want to retire. We need a plan. And several of my friends who husbands could take care of the household alone and have done so, their wives still contribute because they want to add and support. They want to plan. They want to have a financial future with their spouse. Who wants to retire, be dead broke because their husband is the only one that worked and now you don't have a financial plan? There's a reason why people decide to make the decision that they make in their household. And it's not helpful when you have unmarried women with opinions that are very contradicting to their lives. Yes, you are smart. Yes, you are a lawyer, but your opinions and your perspectives, in my opinion, are backwards. You grew up in a single household. Father was not around. You're looking for him late in age. You break up with your spouse because he wants to spend time with his children during a very scary time in our lives. People were alone. You know, there seems to be this lack of compassion, understanding if it's not involving self. And anybody who's married know you can't be selfish in a marriage. When you are, it's negative. So much negative comes from it. So if you're entering that space in the mindset that you're coming at this discussion with, your marriage is going to be unsuccessful. Someone's going to be completely unhappy. And it's most likely going to be the man. And then, and I'm going to bring race into this. As a Black woman, majority of the single households are predominantly Black women. And we have learned to adapt to being alone and struggling and having to survive. And talking to my aunts, talking to my friends who are also single parents, it's because of a lot of times when you're not on the same page with someone, or you maybe have a child with someone you wasn't supposed to, you haven't had this discussion first, a lot of these things end up in this way. And I'm applauding, you know, Union and Wade for saying, we've discussed this. We're okay with this arrangement. This works for us. This works for our household. This works for our future. This works for our kids. This is it right here. And we're not afraid to put that out there. That is important. That's something that we should applaud and say, I'm glad that y'all having those beautiful discussions, because a lot of people divorce because they can't have them or won't have them or tried to have them and they're not on the same page, versus you getting online and tearing someone down with your comments about what you wouldn't do, how you wouldn't do it, how dare she split this money with this man. He made all these millions of dollars. He made all these millions of dollars years ago. This man is retired. All you see him in the media for right now is his opinion on his child who's transgender. You're worried about a household that has nothing to do with you. You don't have your own household in order. You're still dating. You're still trying to figure out. You're not married. And it's like, people keep telling you your comments are harmful, your comments are hurtful, and you're not thinking with a full deck here. You're not thinking beyond your own selfishness, and you keep getting chewed up in the media. And it's like, you're playing into this narrative. I don't want my daughters to hear that. I'm very proud of showing my daughters how hard I've worked, the degrees I've earned, the jobs that I've maintained, the ability to be helpful. If something happened, we saw how people lost their loved ones during COVID. And so what would I have done if I just let my spouse take care of everything? How am I going to bounce back of COVID? I haven't worked. I haven't given a dime. I haven't I haven't managed any of these bills. I don't even know what these bills are. How absent-minded do you expect people to be and think that they can survive in that concept? Meanwhile, you're making money off reality TV. People are watching you. That's how you make your money. People are going to continue to watch reality TV. In the regular 9 to 5 household, that is not our reality. So when you make a comment and you say those things out loud, you're not talking to the celebrities. You're talking to the middle class, low income families who are watching you, who some girls are aspiring to be a lawyer in a reality TV. It's just like, you got to think about who your audience is. And it's not always the people who are in the same financial economic class as you who are listening to that. So when you say things, you have to preface them in the right way. You have to make sure the folks who are entertaining you and subscribe to you and listening to you understand your narrative in the perspective that fits in their bucket, not your wildest dreams, and your backstory doesn't match what's coming out your behind at this point. So I applaud Gabrielle Union and Dwyane for having the conversation. There's too many divorces happening because people are fighting over finances, and then divorces get ugly because of finances. If you can have the conversation, you could come to some common ground. Whether you stay together, you don't. That stuff leads into the future. That's you're being an adult. You're laying out what is and what couldn't and what should be in a respectful, together, collaborative, communicative way, not you tearing her down because she wants to split the bills with her man. She's entitled. And as a lawyer, I'm not sure what you practice, but I think if something was to happen, that actually would be good for divorce. I split the bills 50-50. We don't both get spousal support. We go our separate ways and things are split. Household split, 50-50. That is what the judge is going to see. So it's actually smart on her part to split the bills 50-50, set herself up for success if something was to go wrong. And you're positioning as if it's a negative. I'm not giving no man my money. So you get to work and spend your money on the stuff you want to spend it on. Meanwhile, he's tired, he's working, all his money is going there. Where's the balance? Where's the fairness? That is the reality for those in my life and my friends who have been married for 20 plus years, who I look up to and talk to about these things in my decade-old marriage. And you ain't even crossed the stage yet. So I just please, when we start talking about these comments, let's really think about it in a huge perspective, and also humble ourselves, check ourselves, and make sure we understand what we're saying and what we're doing, and making sure that our stuff aligns to the nonsense we're spewing out of our mouths. And also respect what you don't know, respect what you have no experience in. It just doesn't make sense for someone who was engaged, mad at their significant other for wanting to spend time with their kids, but then looking for their own father and wanting that level of closure to come on and say, I want to date a bus driver, come on and say, I want to split the bills 50-50. Your perspective may be the reason why you're not getting what you want. And you're trying to downplay it and offend people. And you've been told you offended people, and you continue this narrative. And don't take this as an attack on her. I have an attack on her words. Her words as an educated, beautiful woman is really harmful to the community of young women who are growing up, looking for love, looking to have some balance, trying to make best decisions and communicate with their significant other. To have someone come on and downplay a woman who has a career, has a family, is married, making millions of dollars, which some of these young ladies want to do. Why would you downplay that? Why did I say, oh, that's great? I don't know if I would do 50-50, but I applaud them for having the conversation. There's a completely different way. You're looking for a negative response because you know what you're saying is complete, utter ridiculousness, especially when you don't even have the perspective or the experience in that space. You know, so I wanted to come back on and talk about that. I would love to hear your opinions. You know, the divorce rate is doing better, but the number two reason people are divorced in this country is finances. And if we could keep people together for those who should be together and encourage them to have fruitful, educated conversations about finances and keep divorce off the table whenever possible, you do that. So thanks for listening to another episode of But Coffee First. Please subscribe, comment down below. We'd love to hear your opinion. Thanks, y'all.